Right, today we're going to do something different. This is actually my house we're working on today, and what we're going to do is completely rip it apart. And today we're going to look at what happens when you take a building apart. We're going to look at the preparations that needs to happen in place to put it all back together again and make sure that by the end you've got a nice plastered looking home. So the doors are fitted, we've got the bulkhead inserted above, we've got this area we've got a patch in. Along there we had electrical cables, so I've had to cut out a segment there and put some plasterboards fitted in place. We've got this detail to deal with here along the top where the original wall was. We knocked that down and got some building inspectors drawing all this to sign this off. So the Hastings Independent Building Inspectors, leave a link below. If you're anywhere in East Sussex areas, they are top. So they're going to sign it off. We've covered it all up. And now we're just going to try and get this room back together because at the moment it looks like it's a bit of a hole. But what I'm worried about is this cracking. So what we're going to do is bond it, but we're going to back it up with this fiberglass mesh, render mesh as it's known. We're going to back it all with this, and that way it's just going to stop it from cracking. I do worry about plasterboard meeting onto a new plasterboard. I just find that is a high cracking area, and I think this is a much better way to deal with it. So let's start with that. Okay, so like we said, I've mixed up some bonding. This is British Gypsum bonding, which is an undercoat plaster. I find that these sections, especially when you're dealing with chastenings on plasterboard, we've got plasterboard to plasterboard, it's going to be a high cracking point. And sometimes I find scrim tape just isn't enough. Where this render mesh, this fiberglass mesh is so much thicker, you're going to get a stronger job overall, and it's just going to make sure that whole area is covered, which is going to prevent any cracks coming along in the future. Now, like I said, this is my house. If any cracks were to come on down the line, it'd drive me insane. So I need to make sure that everything I do from this point is bang on and accurate, and that's what I want to show you. So the first tip here is when you're dealing with areas where you've got plasterboard chasings like this, I find render mesh is just the strongest, best way to deal with it. Now this is extra thick scrim tape. This is also another option because it's got a wider set of wings. It's going to cover a bigger area for cracking point. Now this area is also going to get bonded out, and I'm going to show you why we're going to manage to bond this out flat. Right, so this bit here, where the old coving adhesive was, we naturally want to scrape back, but where the division of the wall used to be, luckily there's a gap. So what that means is we can bond out from here to there, lose that area and get it flat as well. So we're not only going to be getting the ceiling flat, we're also going to lose the job of trying to scrape that bad boy back. And here it's even worse. You see the gap between that to that runs quite wide. So I'm going to be, and from there you can bond it and then rule it flat between the ceilings. I just hate that little furry bit there. I'll clean that up. So now we've flattened the ceiling, we've got over the bumpy section, and we've saved ourselves a job scraping that bloody adhesive off. Now this ladder, the reason I'm using it is because I've left all the other stuff on the job. This was from our first house, and I swear down it's on its way out. So if you see me fall, it might make good entertainment, who knows. Cheers, Grace. Right, everyone, meet my new labourer, Grace Face, aka
Grace Face.
Grace. She's my new labourer for the day. It's my sister-in-law. And then you're going to do PVAing, aren't you?
Yeah.
Have you ever done this before?
Yeah, I'm going to say yeah.
What's the real answer?
Me.
Right, we're going to do strong mix PVA. Do you know what this stuff does, Grace?
Sticky. Super sticky.
And why is that?
Top points already.
Top points. Right, we're going to do about 2 to 1 because PVA at the moment is rubbish. 3 to 1 if it's good, but this is just contractors. Ever build PVA, it's okay. We're just going to make it nice and thick. So whack a load in there. You get it all over your fingers?
Yeah, I put it on already. Get stuck in.
You hold it there. Right, hold it tight. And then we're literally just gonna pour a bit in. Now mix that up, Grace, go on. Then whack it in there.
Mate.
Then the idea is she's gonna prime all the walls for me, and then hopefully today we're gonna get some plaster on. So like I said, strong mix of PVA, get it in, and then she can do her job and she can be my new labourer for the day. Do you reckon, Grace?
PVA everything?
Yeah, everything. Yeah, no, a lot. Just whack it on, nice and thick. You don't want to be stingy with it.
Right.
You want to whack it on. That's it. You don't be shy.
I wasn't sure if it, like, you'd be neat or anything like that.
No.
Whack it.
Just whack it on.
Soppy. Got it.
Now, Grace has just PVA'd that wall next to me. What I've got here is an existing piece of wall with a piece of plasterboard where you've got a join in the middle. Now, I've applied scrim tape between the two, which is what you're going to need to do when you've got an existing wall meeting into plasterboard. It's all been dot and dabbed. What I've found is a few areas that are a bit lower than what I like. Now, instead of getting it with a skim, I'm always going to do the prep first and make sure the walls I'm working on are dead flat. I never rely on scrim or the finish plaster to make sure you're going to get a wall flat. I only get the finished plaster on when everything else, the prep work, is completely right. Now, there was even a dip in the reveal when it was dot and dabbed. I've had to bond it out to make sure it's dead flat to the window frame, the door frame, sorry. What you don't want is to be dealing with these after, so make sure if you've got any low spots, get it first with the undercoat plaster. You're just going to get a much better finish.
You don't want me to PVA these plugs, do you?
No, not quite today.
You laugh, so I'm going to take that as a no.
For anyone learning to plaster, don't PVA the plugs. Big tip, eh, Grace?
Got it. Manicure. Do we take the screws out? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Multitask. There we go. Got this.
So what did you ask me then, Grace?
If this is too wet.
Yeah, and
Just
it's
PVA.
good rule of thumb is you don't want to be PVA and bonding when it's soaking wet because it just won't take up, it'll still be sliding. But if you put pressure against it and you're not getting any finger indentations, it still feel damp, but if you're not getting any, nothing showing, then that's when you can PVA it and that's when you're good. Because then it'll sit on the surface. If you do it too early, it'll absorb the PVA and then it won't be able to do its job. But now, that'll sit on the surface and provide a seal for the plaster and it'll stop the suction rate of plaster and stop it drying too fast. That's what PVA does. And finally, where the old wall used to be between the kitchen and dining room, I've got a bit of coving. What I've done is just simply cut a bit in place. I've not even used coving adhesive. You can use plasterboard adhesive to stick it. Just fill in the gaps between the two. And then what I also like to do afterwards is PVA the whole area. What I find is when you plaster onto coving, it can get furry. So I always like to PVA the coving before and after. It just strengthens up the product. Now, obviously, Grace has had enough of work. She decided to throw my daughter down a hill, which is all good. This is what happens when you use up your leftover cardboard. You can have a load of fun whilst you're sledging down someone's hill, as so. Yay.
Yeah. I see.
Well done for all your hard work, Grace. What are we celebrating with?
A little bit of the favourite left.
Left brun.
Brun.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
And then a hand appears from the camera. Well done.
Tough stuff, this.
Yeah. Chin chin. Well done. Hope you learnt something as well. Now the walls have been PVA'd, and what you want to be looking for when you're applying plaster to PVA is that it's tacky. Now this has been done on the same day. There's two good things about using a strong mix of PVA. One, it's going to set a bit faster, and two, the tackiness of it is going to be also a lot stronger. So you don't want to be plastering onto the PVA when it's soaking wet, but if it's touch ready and it's sticky, as in it's just got a nice bit of firmness to it and it's leaving a bit of tackiness to your fingers, then that's the perfect time to start plastering. And now what we're doing is starting to fill up all the closed areas, and what you're going to see after this is the fact that now we're going to start getting the old areas that we've worked with, we're going to start making them nice. Like I said, everything's been plastered on the same day, so all the prep was done beforehand, the bonding, the PVAing. It's just about timings really, and what you'll learn the more you do this is the fact that you've just got to wait, but when you've picked the right moments for plastering, it's all going to sit into place. So like I said about this PVA, you want to be putting the PVA and the bonding when the bonding is touch dry, and you want to be plastering onto the PVA when that's tacky. That is literally all you need to wait for. You don't need to wait 24 hours. You just need to make sure that it's tacky and firm to the touch, that's all. Now I've got quite a few angles working with here, and what I have done in this process, I've used the same mix of plaster for 2 coats. I'm not plastering a big area at this point. This is about 7 o'clock at night, so I didn't really want to be working too hard, but what I've done is applied the first coat of plaster, quickly speed skimmed it, and what we're going to do straight after we speed skimmed it is immediately apply the second coat of plaster. And I just find as long as you're fast and on the ball, you're going to get good results, and you're going to make sure that your plastering's done in a decent amount of time. India, what should I do?
I did have to.
You did?
Straight.
Straight. Right, I'll try and do it straight. You've got to do it straight?
Yeah, straight.
Straight. Well, that's what I've got to do, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try. Is that better? No?
Yes, it is.
We're going to show you. Now in this video we're not going to show you the full process of plastering, but if you want to find the most efficient way to plaster a wall, which is where I'm going to use the same mix of plaster for 2 coats, and click this video on the left. I'm going to show you the full process on how to plaster a wall, but I'm going to show you how to do it with speed whilst getting top class results and making sure that your finish stays on point whilst keeping on time with saving lots of energy as well. So click that video on the left, I'll show you the full process there, and subscribe on the right. Cheers.